This is Crew Tales, Life in the Circus. In the motion picture world, there are an army of dedicated professionals who work behind the scenes to make the movies and shows we watch today. I'm Brad Hodson, and I've spent over 30 years in the motion picture industry. This podcast celebrates the people who make the magic behind the scenes.
Hi, I'm Dustin Trernard. Brad is on set this week, so I'll be interviewing Chris Kempinski. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
How would you describe what it is that you do?
I'd say that my main job is working with a director and a script and turning words into pictures, basically, like a collaboration of art and costumes and color and aesthetic and tone and all that kind of stuff. But we basically pull together what becomes the picture, and that's pretty much my job, is to make sure that the story and the pictures kind of service the script, which that's simplest way to put it.
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of technical stuff that goes with that, but the simplest way is that's what I do.
Making pretty pictures based on the script.
Pretty much, yeah. Like turning those words and making sense of them in picture stories. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I again, it can go deeper in terms of lens choices and focus, pulls and
all the
depth of
technical
field
stuff.
and all the technical stuff. But yeah, essentially, my main job is getting into the director's head as to how they see what they want to do, and facilitating that the best I can. And there's a variety and array of backgrounds that everybody comes from in terms of directors as to what and how they read the script and interpret it. Yeah. So it's interesting.
So what's your background? How did you come from a little Chris to now cinematographer Chris?
So the Wayback Machine, I was a skateboarder. So my friends and I skateboarded every day. And I was like what I call the bass player of the group, where I was okay, but I wasn't great. So they're like, hey, why don't you try the 4-string guitar instead of the 6-string guitar, right?
Yeah.
And I ended up, because of that, with my friend's camera a lot of the time. So so I had a couple friends who were really good. But my friend Craig, his dad gave us his old Sony Handycam, and I ended up with the camera a lot. And then that kind of graduated into drama class, and one of my teachers in high school started letting me hand in projects, because I was like a total high school dropout. I'm amazed I have a high school certificate, let alone a college degree. But he started letting me hand in projects in video format. Like we did a project that was a commercial. It was like a commercial, like, okay, just make a 30-second commercial. So I did this like Skittles thing through the school and through a bunch of people, and I made the camera kind of look like a dog, like roaming through the school, like low angle and dutching and kind of handheld kind of stuff. And then it was right in on the package, and I edited it with a bunch of skateboard video, music and sound. But I spent days in the editing suite, like working on that. And my teacher saw because it would be like, it would either, I think he talked to my other teachers, and he was basically like, look, he could hand it in video format or hand in nothing at all. And so they eventually were like, okay, well, let's let him hand in things video format. So that kind of, it was that's how I graduated high school in a way, because it was like, it kind of because it was that kind of reignited a learning thing for me. And, so then eventually the plan was to go to Vancouver Film School, which is weird. But I had a friend who wanted to be an actor, I had a friend who wanted to be a director, and I had a friend, and then I wanted to be the camera guy.
The perfect triangle there.
Completely. I didn't go to Vancouver Film School. So I ended up in the Caribbean for 5-6 years, traveled the world for another year, came back to Vancouver, and I went to Capilano University, which is a university now, it was a college at the time. And I kind of went through that, and then that was great. Met a lot of cool people, and a lot of them are still in the industry that I worked with and that were part of that. And then I kind of got out right at the right time, and I went right into lighting, which was weird because during school I was like, I'd grip. I was PAing. I would take anything. I would just volunteer on things. Like every weekend, I would do something. And I started more towards the camera assisting. I didn't like camera assisting. Me and camera assisting and I just didn't get along. But I kind of steered more towards the lighting department. And I always found out I'd be hanging out in their stashes and kind of talking to their folks, and which was interesting. And then 2003 came, and I went straight into all those big movies. So it was like Chronicles of Riddick, iRobot, Scooby-Doo 2, Catwoman with Halle Berry. There was it's a huge like blockbuster movie summer, and I worked every day, and I kind of busted my chops and got thrown up in condors and a bunch of weird, lifts, and just I did all the sketchy stuff. All they're like, oh hey, let's get the new kid to do all that weird stuff, and that graduated me into commercials. So I worked with Chris Meeks and Roger Hughey doing like tons of stuff like car ads and toy ads and like Mattel but all the big commercials, and that's where I met all my celebrities, like which were the DPs, like the A-list DPs that I had, like just even as a kid watching movies grow and watching things kind of happen. I got to actually sit beside them at the dolly and watch them work, which I thought was pretty cool. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I got to work with like Bob Yeoman and Ellen Curris and Simon Dugan and Claudia Miranda and like all these people that were like, to me were like, I'm like, oh my God, like, do you know who you are? Kind of, you know what I mean? And
I think I'd be like the same kind of in awe of those same guys too. Like it's
right.
Yeah.
So I got to kind of like sit and casually hang out, and because I was just a lamp operator, I was taking in all the good ideas and getting rid of the bad ideas. But then I met a group of people that wanted to do a web series. So I met them doing a short film for Vancouver Film School. Nice enough, like not nice enough, awesome people. We really got along. They were always doing creative, like cool things. And they just kind of grabbed me by the collar and they said, hey, we're going to do this web series. You want to come with? And I was like, of course I do. So we ended up doing that. It was called Reese. It was like a steampunk, like out in the woods kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was when I'd always done camera on the side. So this is the thing. So I was always like and the commercials were great for that, because commercials, I would work 3-4 days and then I'd have like 2 weeks off. And the commercial rates at the time, this is the early 2000s, like 2002, 2003, you didn't need the kind of paychecks that you do now. But so I could take on these small web series and short films and whatnot. But Reese, I ended up winning like a best cinematography. I went down to the LA to get a Streamy Award.
Oh yeah,
it was hilarious. This is like a streamers kind of thing, and it was great. It was nice to be acknowledged, and it was a cool community. It was like really great. Just pushing in the right direction, because again, most of the web series at the time were kind of, again, handycam and not really. We're back to the film days where like the Red One had just come out.
Yeah.
So the projects were just starting to level up, and this was like the first kick at the look. I could make this look like a movie. So Reese is kind of what pushed me into, because again, one of the directors from that I went on to do another movie with, and he's like a Hallmark director now, Nick Humphreys. He's super nice guy. Like I love working with him anytime I can. So he directed 4 of the 8 episodes of Reese, and then I went on to do Death Do Us Part with him. And that was all before I was a 669 member. And I was really fortunate to have really good operators come and really good people come to help kind of push me in the right direction. But then, so as I got into 669, things just shifted, and I completely hung up my lighting belt and just went straight to went straight to camera. Just kind of left it at that. So
Yeah. Because like I find I've worked with lots of cinematographers that seem to have come at it from the lighting angle. And it seems like that's kind of more a stereotypical way to get into it than coming up through the camera department.
Well, I mean, we were kind of touching on this before we started rolling, but the you kind of need to be able to go into autopilot when you get a show in terms of like the job of making pretty pictures. And I think everyone has their own evolution. Like if you come from a camera background, you're more concerned about framing and lensing and camera movement. Whereas because I came from lighting, I was more concerned about exposure and proper, making it look the right way. I've gone through an evolution where, again, I was more concerned about how the show looked. But I found that my earlier work, when I look back at it, I'm like, I could have done better servicing the story. So it's interesting how everyone goes through like their own evolution. So now I really do focus on, like, I'm still very picky about lighting, but I'm more focused on servicing the story and really servicing the director's vision. Like whereas before, like you go through evolution of like I just can't let certain things go when it came to lighting and how the camera, like and lensing. I'm pretty particular because I've been rewatching DVDs with my kids. So all my old DVD collection, and it was interesting watching the Coen brothers. And watching their evolution of lensing and choices with Roger Deakins, like when you go back to their early work, and you're like, oh, like some of it felt a little bit more awkward. Now when you watch it there's more of a flow to it, and you can sense and see where they got that from. And it was the same with I think Emily, like if you look at like Delicatessen and City of the Lost Children, it was all of that color theory and all that stuff was kind of a build up to Emily in a way. Like,
you get a lot of artists they evolve as they carry on with their craft, right?
Yeah, totally, exactly. Yeah. So that was kind of and then I don't know. I got my break. I got a lot of lucky breaks, and I've worked with a lot of really great people that have have just been very supportive in pushing my career forward, and there's like too many to talk about because it's just like that's the business. I mean, you anybody that gets to where they are, they owe an army of people behind them that have kind of pushed them up to the next ledge.
I do find that film is a very supportive community sort of thing. Like you hear lots of stories about people freaking out on set, and it's like, it's not really like that. It's a lot of people who are just excited that you're doing something cool and want to help you with that.
Yeah. And I do try and really invoke an atmosphere of like, we're all in this together, right? And that we're all working on the same project towards the same goal of being proud of what we've just accomplished, right? Because I mean, if I'm going to take you away from your friends and your family and your dog, for whatever 3 months, you want to be able to stand a little taller and say, hey, look, I did this, like that's, and I think we all want that. We don't want to stand in the rain and be,
or if you are standing in the rain, it's for a good reason.
Well, that's what I mean. Like you don't want it to turn to to be a job, right? Like you want it to be, like, we're all artists, like even right down to the PA. They don't get into this job to move chairs and set up heaters. Right? They're there because they want to be part of the art and they want to be part of what's going on. And so anyways, you got to, I really try and engage that. And I'm hoping that's why people again are try and help push, because like, if we're all working towards the same goal, I think that's like you get a better product at the end.
All of the other art forms, you can do it all by yourself, but this is the one where it has to be collaborative. You can't make a movie all by yourself.
Well, and that's like going back to the skateboarding. Like I was never a team sport player, which is weird because like I like team sports, but I just didn't really. I just didn't fit that mold. So I was like skateboarding, tennis, golf, like all things where I had to rely on myself. So it's interesting that the work that I've chosen is like it's such a team sport. You really need to rely on other people to pitch in their efforts, right? So it's interesting.
Yeah. You mentioned like you worked on a lot of different projects there. What one if have you been rewatching things, which one is your favorite project that you worked on?
Well, things that I've worked on, like, I mean, I like them all for different reasons. Like, and you know, like there's certain aspects of each thing that I'm really, that I get excited about, and then I like to rewatch. But sometimes it's the people, you know, like I Robot, right? Like I thought Will Smith was amazing. Like I was the lighting guy that was always like the robot light. Like I'd always like, you know, be there like I'm supposed to be the red bad guy light. And so, but I was always like this, like our distance away from Will Smith, and he's shooting this big gun at me, and then my whole chest is like just vibrating, and I've got like bulletproof everything on and shields and stuff, but at the same time I'm like, oh, this is crazy, you know, like, are you seeing this? Like, so, which, you know what I mean? But that's again, like all those projects, there's people who show up to work and are in the truck or at the stash or whatever. I was in the tent with the DP and the gaffer, and I was always paying attention, always trying to like, again, poach good ideas and dismiss the ideas that I didn't like, and just be there. So I was always the cue guy. I was always the person who was like right on set. I was always the person when the DP would look up and look at the light, I was the guy that would kind of slowly walk towards that light because I knew he was going to do something. And it was before he'd even talk to the gaffer. And then the gaffer, you'd see them talk, and I'd have the scrims in my hand already because I knew what I would do. Yeah. So I'd sit there and they'd be like, "Hey, put a double in that." And I'd be like, "Chink," you know, and it was I'd already be there. And it just makes everyone look better. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I was the same with camera. Like I'm you know, I never really settled for one camera show. I was always like offering up frames. I was always like, when I started operating, I'd always be in there trying to help the process and get different angles, get different. Sometimes I was told to, you know, kill my engines, but most of the time it was welcome, and it was at least you know, listened to. And because I think I was again coming at it from like a wholehearted, you know, instinct rather than try to tell, you know. Anyways, it was interesting. Yeah, it's good.
What projects have you watched that have inspired your art? And
well, that's the thing. Like I am very I'm very kind of top 40, like, and when it comes to movies, which is really interesting because I'm not like, I like the old school combo of director DP. So like Spielberg Kempinski, or Spielberg Dean Cundy, or Zemeckis and Cundy, or, you know, like Bob Yeoman and Wes Anderson. You know, so like those DP director combos have always fascinated me, and I'm always like, so when I was like, the first movie that I like, it wasn't the best looking movie, but the first movie that really made me go, oh my gosh, that's what I want to do, was E.T. So I hate to age myself here, but I saw E.T. in the theater. I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and it wasn't that it was like the best, like it was a good movie, it was a cinematic movie, but it was the first movie where it kind of clicked with me that, oh my gosh, like that's somebody's job, is to make that, and what I'm watching, because it really didn't just it just didn't click. My dad was always like my dad watched westerns, so he'd be like Clint Eastwood and and James Bond. So he was very much like, that was his. We'd go to the drive-in theater before then. He'd be watching James Bond, and I'd actually be looking out the back at like other movies, whatever. Because at the time, you know, you had to put the big speaker thing on your window. Yeah. And there was usually 3 movies playing at the same time, like where we were, anyways. Where I don't know if that was normal everywhere, but there'd be more than one show playing at the same time while you're watching. So my dad would be watching James Bond, or, you know, I liked Indiana Jones, like. But again, that was kind of there was this transition, and then when I went to film school, I did get an appreciation for the classics, and I show my kids all the classics. We were watching like Singing in the Rain, and there's a ton of old movies, like, and my kids have a really big appreciation for all that stuff as well now, which I'm hoping, like, I like to pass that stuff on, because
well,
a lot of those movies were technically like way ahead of their time.
Yeah.
And to do that with such a big camera, like blimp camera, and some of those dance numbers and stuff like that, like it was it's neat to see some of that kind of coming back, but yeah, there's the appreciation for what came before.
Well, like in some of those movies, you wonder if anything like that is possible to do that kind of movie again.
Well, I don't, and I think that's the thing. Like the studio system has changed a little. Like, you would never, even though they just made Beetlejuice 2, you'd never make it Beetlejuice. Like, I don't think Beetlejuice would ever get made if the script landed on somebody's desk these days. Like a Dr. Strangelove. Mm-hmm. I don't think you could make a movie like that.
I think they're remaking it, actually.
Of course they're remaking it. But my point being, if they didn't have the source material to kind of fall back on, I don't know that they would make that kind of movie these days. And you know, Edward Scissorhands, like even Ghostbusters. Like, I always would, like my whole thing was the original Ghostbusters. I touted as the world's best written movie. I heard this from somebody else, and I did poach it, but I agreed with it, and I really kind of tout it out because you're just there in the day of the life of the Ghostbusters, and those characters are extremely flawed, all of them. Like, none of the characters have, you know, 100% great attributes. Like, they've all got serious flaws, and they shouldn't be together, but they're all together fighting ghosts. And you, as an audience member, just go along with that ride, excited about the fact that, oh, I guess this is just what being a Ghostbuster is, right? Those movies seem to be gone, because now if you had a movie, you'd have, you know, your main character would have to go and understand why he was the way he was, go seek therapy, and then come back as a new, revived, better person of himself. You know what I mean? To redeem the Ghostbusters. It just doesn't work. And I'm not trying to, you know, put down modern movie making. I'm just saying that there's this story arc of, like, believability, of people actually buying into the fact that nobody's perfect, and that we're all working on being perfect. But that's just being human. And to display that is more, you know what I mean? Like, there's this instinctual thing, because that's like, right now I'm really looking at Hitchcock and just older films in terms of, like, the psychological bias we have when we watch films, and trying to kind of dive into that a little bit. It's like, I've been very fascinated by that, by, like, how the we just have these, like, innate biases towards certain things, and it's whether it's how the actor's acting or how things are presented. We just have this instinctual, you know, deep humanistic trait that reacts to things in a certain way. And I think that sense, like, there was an exploration of that, I think, in the 60s and 70s, but that seems to have disappeared a little bit, in my opinion. It's become more of a, you know, an algorithmic, like, okay, well, we did this master shot, now we owe this, you know, coverage. And you're just kind of like, okay, well, do we though? Like, is that the best way to service this story? So, but sometimes it is. Yeah. Right. And again, it depends on what you're. Well,
I've noticed too, like, watching a lot of those old movies with my two nephews, those old classic movies, they still hit the same way. They still, like, they're watching it for the first time. I've seen it hundreds of times, but they still get it. Like, it still works, you know?
Well, there's this nostalgia value that because, and again, it's even, like you said, like 30 years later, the kids watch this for the first time, and they're just like, they're just floored, and they're set back. And there are reasons why. Again, it's the Indiana Jones. I use Spielberg a lot. I think the Coen brothers as well. They put the camera in the perspective of the audience. And so as you have this shot of a hill, and the Indiana Jones climbs up the hill, and then you cut to his point of view, right? And the point of view is him kind of cresting over to see the city. And then the camera does the pan of the city, and then you cut to Indiana Jones doing the same pan of the city that the camera just did, right? So it's like the Jackie Chan, like, do a punch, but then cut back to the wide and do the same punch again. Same kind of idea, right? So then you go back to Indiana Jones, and he does this and this, and the audience instantly, instinctually, without saying a word, understands, oh, I'm that guy. That's cool. You know what I mean? And I think that those little nuances of that like that inner psyche of our instinct, it's just been ripped away by the formula.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
Yeah. So it's kind of I'm more interested in that these days. If that, like trying to like guide the audience through the story and show them things in the right format, and also show them things. All of a sudden, you're the bad guy. You put them into that perspective, so that you're not, do clean singles. Like when I'm talking to you, I don't see that. I don't see it like I see that camera. Mm-hmm. I see it like I see these cameras, which is clean of me, clean of you. I don't see it from the kitchen. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at it from my eyes.
Yeah.
So when you respect the audience and you put them into that position, they instinctually know, oh, I'm looking at it from this guy's perspective. And yeah, I think we need more of that, because it's not as per the project.
Yeah.
You work with directors, you work with the studios, you work with expectations, and you deliver what you can, and you push and, mold and shape. But it's all collaborative. It's all, what you start with and what you think. Cause again, the thing that I like too is like, I've read a script. I've done 4 weeks of prep with this director. I've set the tone. I've said everything. The actors come in. I've listened to the table read. The actors come in. They deliver a performance that I just wasn't expecting. I'm just like, I didn't read it like that. Like, that's not how. So now I have to adjust and shift in order to keep with that tone of what they're doing. Cause either juxtapose it and do completely the opposite, so that they're like, their somber performance is in a bright, cheery room, or, but I have to feel it out. Mm-hmm. And there's times where I've just been floored, where I think I know exactly what I'm doing. And then a performer comes in and just flips the whole table over. And you're like, what? This is not what I was expecting. Okay. We got to relight, and I need a different lens on here. And you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, that's what I like about the whole business is, like, even after you think you're ready to go, sometimes it just takes on a life of its own, and you just have to kind of roll with it. Like, if that makes any sense. Yeah,
totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of go-to kit or equipment that you find yourself gravitating towards, and this is a tool that I always want to get onto every kind of show, sort of thing?
Yeah. I've got lights and lenses and tools. Like, I'm not a big fan of this like hyper shallow depth of field, because again, like, it's not like when I'm looking at you, the background's slightly out of focus, but it's not like I don't see just your nose. You know what I mean? Like, so like that hyper, I try not to live in that world. But however, I do like lenses with character. So there's certain go-tos from Panavision and from a couple of companies that I like that I would definitely I definitely push towards those like more often than not. But I've fallen in love with the Sony VENICE, and both the 32, because I'm a big film. I still love shooting on film. If I could shoot on 35 mil anamorphic for the rest of my life, even 16, I'd take 16. Yeah. But if I could shoot 35 mil anamorphic forever, I would be happily do that, because there's still a magic there. Yeah. But if I go digital, I really do like the Sony. I like the higher ISO values, and I also like the fact that every ND is in the camera. You don't have to sit there and change filters out. You just push a button and so I like, because a lot of times I'll find that happy depth of field that I like, and I'll just add the NDs to marry the depth of field that I like.
That's definitely what they used to do in film, right? Where they would, your iris is set and that's not moving. It's everything else has to change.
100%. And then that's, again, that was partially due to necessity. Oh man. So total sidetrack here. But Fallout, like the fact that Fallout is shooting on like 50 daylight on their exteriors and like 200 tungsten on their interiors, dude, like that's just like,
you need so much light compared to what we use now.
I know, but we need more of that. Like it's just like it's just that bold, but it's hard. It's hard in this in this world.
Well, and
to not take on the reliable.
The very first show that I ever did was on 16 millimeter, and then I've never gone back to it ever since.
Man.
And I really, really like the whole, you got 10 minutes or 11 minutes in a 16 mil mag.
Yeah.
That's all the time you have. And then you have to go and change it. The cards now that we have, we can roll and roll and roll and roll. And
Like hour and a half.
You could actually hear money flowing through the camera, the little click, 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 click.
Well, and I think that's to me. So I've just done like 3 more shorts and 2 music videos on 35 mil, and I've been pushing. I have a Bolex but I haven't used it recently. But there was an urgency. Like you knew that you were only going to get 2 takes, maybe 3 tops. So both the performers, the operators, everyone, their level. The level was raised because they knew that they had to bring it, and again, like you said, you could hear the money going through the camera. So it was a different time. Like it's a different medium. That's all. Yeah. But I mean, the Sony VENICE had fixed a lot of the problems, but I wish I could bring out my iPad and show you guys the last job I did, because it was like it's how film handles the roll off. So even was it Dune that did the print? They shot on digital. Yeah. They printed to, and this is becoming a new trend.
Yeah, they printed to film and then they went back and forth a couple times.
Correct. There's a name for it, but they shoot on digital. They get their final cut, then they print that to film. And then like in a digital format, they print it to film and then they redigitize it. And there's so many benefits to that, but it's still not the way that the film handles the highlight roll off and then sees into the shadow is just different. It's just like I can't explain it. Like when you see it, you understand. Like if I held up 2 pictures and said this one was shot with a Sony camera and this one was shot with Kodak, you would understand. Because you can see it. I mean, it's just it's the way that the colors are handled and the highlights roll off and the darks, like it's just different. And it's not that it's bad. It's just different. And you have a third dimension, I think, in film as well, because your film actually has depth to it. Like there's layers to it. So, which we don't have. The digital is still like a 2-dimensional plane. Yeah. So you get the dimension from the depth of the lens, but you're not, anyways, it's an interesting time we live in.
It is.
Because again,
you have all these options too.
Well, that's the thing. Now the options have opened up to the point where like the sensors themselves and the cameras themselves don't really matter anymore. Like you can shoot something on an iPhone and make it look pretty decent. Whereas when I was in film school, you needed somebody to get you a film camera to put that film through the bath and to transfer that film. And the transfer, I mean, it was next to impossible to get any kind of project shot. Now you can go out and buy a sub $1,000 camera and come out and it's going to look pretty good. And there's so many tools to be able to digitally manipulate it that you're going to come out with something that looks okay. So it's interesting how those times have changed. But I still like the fact that I still love the idea that the network, you shoot your whole day, you send your film away, and 2 days later you get your dailies back. And everybody gets really excited about the fact that there's just even a picture, let alone the fact that it came out exactly. Because as the cinematographer, my job is to manipulate the light and to expose it properly, as well as move the camera and lens it so that everyone is flattering and giving the audience a good experience. But the fact that 2 days later you get a picture and everyone cheers and gets excited, to me it's magic. Whereas now, like a lot of these digital cameras, they want to see the final product in the tent while you're hitting the record button. It's not as glamorous in a way. Like glamorous isn't the right word. I just don't think
there's less magic.
Less magic, and it's hard. It's hard to attain that. It's hard to attain that excitement in that live while we're doing it. It's really. I found that's it's difficult to kind of keep that going. So, although I've worked on those shows and we've made it happen, and those shows I'm proud of. Like especially during COVID, we were broadcasting live to like 3, like LA, New York, and I think like Vegas or something like that.
Oh wow!
And It was hard. It was challenging because trying to explain like, okay, like look, when we get to post, like we'll be able to manipulate certain things and we'll be able to do this and this and that. Yeah, not everyone. Number one, it was enlightening because not everyone understood that the full process. And number two, it was it was hard to do. But I'm really proud of what we did on those shows because because it was again, it was tough, but what we did kind of worked out.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, the other thing that I can't live without right now, so the Sony VENICE is one.
Yep.
I'd say like the Vantage lenses, like I really like the Hawk, the mini Hawks, like the hybrids.
Yep.
I'm really big on those. And I'm also Hudson Spider. So Hudson's made these lights that are like a parabolic reflector. They mimic a parabolic, but it's just LEDs. But
it's just LEDs doing a parabolic.
Yeah,
wow.
like they're shaped like so. There's arms, and the arms kind of articulate so that you can flatten the arms out and put them into the soft boxes. But you can wrap the arms in, and man, I can't explain it to you. It's a beautiful light, and it makes faces like if you want to do high key or not even like if it's just a beautiful. It doesn't throw shadows. It's just this weird light that does its own thing. You don't need a softbox for it, but they make softbox. They have a whole bunch of attachments and extras. Like I have a gem ball, I have a flat, but I have a whole package. And but it's one of those things that we were talking about earlier, where I'm just like, okay, here's my tub full of junk.
Yeah,
you can make that work, but this isn't junk. Like this is high end junk. But it's very very popular in commercial cinematography only because it's really good for high key. The eye light that you get out of it is like, again, it looks, you get these like
a little spider.
Yeah, a little spider. Yeah. It's so they have the spider and they have the REDBACK, and those two lights, I cannot travel anywhere without them. And then I guess like the Titan tubes, like all the new LED tubes are pretty much, you just can't make a movie without them now. Like now they're putting them into.
Oh, you see them everywhere now.
Well, and they're putting them into lifts and stuff so that you don't have to worry about the fabric in the lifts. Like I've seen a lot of people just put like just big metal framing on the lift and then send it up with the lights literally just attached to the bottom of the lift and it just looks beautiful. Like it's very that's pretty cool. So that you don't. I saw that in Last of Us. I think my friend Wolfie. So I worked with Wolfie on iRobot. And he's the rigging gaffer on Last of Us, the last couple seasons, and he's shared a few of his behind the scenes photos with me. And
nice.
But again, working in Calgary, like some of the like just wind and restrictions and sometimes lack of restrictions, they had to be creative, and that was a huge show. Like that's which I love that. I like that kind of stuff. But we were talking about that the other day. Like I don't want to get to that budget point where it's too big. I'm kind of happy in these like slightly restricted budgets.
There's definitely a sweet spot in having, you don't have all the money, so you still have to come up with creative solutions.
Correct. Yeah. You still need to be frugal, and you still need to spend your money where to get certain things on the screen. But you don't have all the toys available to you all the time. Yeah. I think that's talking modern filmmaking, I think sometimes that's a bit of a holdback as well. Like when you have all the options available to you, you kind of are like you can't. It's hard to make a decision. It's hard to make the right decision. Yeah. And then sometimes, it's again interesting. I appreciated the 2-3 page day schedule, and that was great. But rather than the TV 7-8 page days or 10 page days. I don't know that I don't know that I ever want to have everything all like it. I just don't know that it would service. Yeah, my style of filmmaking, because again, like I'm very much like I really appreciate the old school. I guess I call it the 5 C's of cinematography in terms of like move the camera when it's needed.
It's a fantastic book.
It is. It's kind of a dry read, but
Yeah.
it really does lay out the basic guidelines. Because like once you understand the guidelines, then you can start breaking the rules, right?
Yeah.
But it just to have the basic understanding of like why we're doing things and what we're doing. I think that's like, and there's certain filmmakers that like I think Spielberg's very much like that. I think Christopher Nolan's very much like that. I think like there's a bunch. Well, maybe not Nolan. Nolan's a bad example.
Well, but he's still the guy's like going back and shooting everything on film because there's an old way of doing things.
Well, that's where I appreciate that DP director combo. Like, so DPs that have worked with the same director for eons, like they just those, like the Hoyt Van Hoytma and Chris Nolan. They just have an understanding and a common, when someone says something, the other person just interprets it the right way without even finishing the conversation. Like you just have that old hand that you can't really. It's hard to develop those new relationships. And when I say this, I mean I really mean this, but still do this, right? Like it's kind of a interesting way of coming at it. But so we just watched Super 8. So that was another like I just. There's something about film. I mean, I don't even want to like. It's. I think it just does. It just raises the bar and it raises the expectation. But I also think it is the filmmakers who use the format that are more true to the form. But like back to the 5 C's of like, it's. With the ability with a smaller camera, I think the 5 C's was more relevant when you had this giant, like the camera was the size of the table,
refrigerator,
right? So you couldn't really move the camera the way you can now. Now with these like smaller bodies and lighter everything, I mean, you have the ability. But again, sometimes.
But you also like with those smaller bodies, there's less space to put all the stuff you need to make the camera work on there. Like it's not just a box. There's all the other bits that go onto the box.
Yeah, they build up pretty fast to be big, but you have the capability of being small, and then I think that you can fling the camera into the action like you couldn't before. So the camera can follow action that you wouldn't be able to follow before. But again, is it always necessary? Maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess. But again, it's all script driven.
It all depends what the story is, right?
Totally, and again, and how the director kind of sees how they want to follow that story. Because it boils down to like I have my preferences, but I don't always win, right? And that's where like I've worked with directors who are ADs. I've worked with directors who are actors. I've worked with directors who are writers. I've worked with directors, like who come back from all different walks of life, and they have their experiences as to what they like. And the point is me trying to get into their world and understand their preferences, but also kind of steer them into some of my preferences, and if they'll take my ideas. But they all have different priorities. Again, like a lot of time an AD is worried about shooting their schedule, and an actor is more concerned about performance. So there's and again, like me, I'm more worried about lighting. So like you have these like. Just everyone has their fallback as to what their priorities, and again, you just kind of it all mashes together and makes whatever becomes of whatever it is. So it's easy to sit back as a armchair and be like, oh, should we do this? But and again, even as a film critic, right? You can sit back and be like, oh man, they really handled that the wrong way, but did they? I mean, I don't know. Like it's because to some people, and that's the other thing I love about movies. Is that it hits everyone at a different tone. Like some people, there's a couple of movies that my wife loves. I'm just like, how do you even like? I can't even watch that for 5 minutes. Like, what are you doing? Like, so it's interesting that way too, right? So, yeah.
You had lots of good advice there. Do you have any specific advice for a new filmmaker who's just coming up, wants your job but doesn't know how to get into it?
Yeah, I mean, don't rush into it too fast, because it's more.
You're still working.
Well, no, it's not even. It kind of partly, but it's not even that. There's more to the job than just the pictures. It's just collecting pictures. The job is you go in there knowing everybody wants your job. Like everybody wants to be in that chair. Everyone thinks they can do it better than you can, and you need to be able to. It's more about communication and driving a team, towards a ledge, knowing that it's a ledge. But do it convincingly and do it with them being excited about it. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Than it is about collecting pictures and again, to me, it's more about servicing the story. Well past the artistic part of it. So these days, if like everyone's going to have their arc, is what I'm getting at. So for a new filmmaker to come in, just don't rush to the finish line, because once you have made it to the chair, you've stopped learning. So like go back to those commercials. I worked with all my heroes as a lamp operator. I watched and poached all of their ideas. Now that's done for me. I can't go and sit at the Village and watch another person work. So now what I know is what I know. So I'm kind of stuck in this kind of, like this vortex of just, this is when I came up. So I was lucky because I got the film to digital transfer. Some people have never seen that. They've never seen film, and they don't know what the capabilities of it are. Whereas I watched that I was in that pocket of people that saw the transfer over. But yeah, once you're in that top chair, it's not that you stopped learning, but you're not going to get ideas that are outside the box that you may not have thought of, because and once you get to that chair, everyone else is going to be coming for that job, and everyone else is going to be showing their reels at the Village, the producers, and they're going to be, hey, I'm doing this little thing on the weekend. You want to, so, and then you get kind of like sidestepped out of that, which is, you're like, oh man, am I really there now? Like, is that what it is? So like, there's these like film festivals, and I'd have 4 offers to do 8, like, of all the 8 shows. I'd have 4 people be like, hey Chris, we're doing this film festival. You want to? And now it's crickets. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I don't know if it's because they're like, oh, well, he's bigger than that now. And it's like, no, I still I love the process. Like, I love being thrust into uncomfortable and making art out of that. And it's so my advice to new filmmakers is, the world is your oyster. All of the sensors, all of the cameras, you can make a cool show with little or no money, which I didn't have that growing up. So take advantage of that. Go out, shoot, figure out what you like, figure out what works, develop your own style, but don't race to the end, because at the end you're just gonna, you kind of pigeon yourself into a corner, and then you're sitting there alone, wondering why people don't call you anymore. I'm saying that like tongue firmly in my cheek, but you know what I'm saying, right? Yeah. Like, because you're racing to the top of a pyramid, and then everyone's trying to knock you off the top,
bringing everything to the ledge.
100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting, but they're all, and they all want to kick you off.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. It's not like that. Like, this is all metaphorical. Like, I'm not trying to say like that, but it is. It's an interesting profession. It's an interesting job, and it's an interesting time to be doing it, because, like I said, you can, the possibilities now are endless, literally. And again, which is what I don't like. I don't like that. Like, I don't like the fact, like, I don't want that endless possibilities. I like to have purpose and exactly, and a path forward. Not just like anything. Yeah. Anyways.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Oh, no, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Trying to think if there's anything else that. No,
Rob, do you think there's anything else that we missed?
I did want to say thank you. Like, I watched a few of the other ones. Your chat with Phil was good, and I like that. You guys are up to good work. It's nice. No, it's nice that you guys have been able to pick this up and kind of run with it, because we need more of this, like, kind of like not celebrating, but like kind of pushing the people forward.
Well, that about wraps it up for another episode of Crew Tales, Life in the Circus. I'd like to thank our producers Dustin Trernard and Dustin Girton, as well as our technical producer Rob Hunt. I'm Brad Hodson. Thank you for joining us.